By the age of 19, I had started taking wine classes at the International Wine Center. Probably I should not have been doing that because I was under 21.
But they let you anyway.
But they let me. Well, I don't think they.
They're like, if you want to pay for the class, we'll take your money.
But I don't think at that time they were actually like, who's under 21 taking wine classes? So, they weren't really asking for ID. I don't know how that all worked.
Ciao, y'all. I'm Jessica Dupuy, guest host for a special TexSom series covering the 2024 TexSom Wine Conference from Dallas, Texas. Join me in the heart of the Lone Star State as we delve into the experiences and insights of key speakers and attendees, exploring career paths, challenges, and the latest trends in the wine industry. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe and rate our show wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to the Italian Wine Podcast. I am joined today by my friend Yannick Benjamin. Welcome, Yannick. I'm so glad that you could join us today.
Well, always a pleasure, and it's great to see you again.
Okay.
Last time I saw you was in Verona.
In Verona. You know what? I'm so glad you brought this up right off the bat. So for 5 stars, yay. And Team 11.
Yes, Team 11.
Team Awesome.
Right?
So
you remember that.
Quick shout out to Nelson Pari and Giuseppe Venturini. That was the best team.
We had a great team.
It was a good team.
Oh, it was so much fun.
Yeah, you were a leader. You were a great leader.
I don't know about that.
Well, I'm glad to have you. Obviously, I know you, but maybe you could tell the audience a little bit about who you are. Just kind of a little background and how you got to be involved in the world of wine.
Oh my gosh. Okay, sure. My name is Yannick Benjamin, born and raised in New York City. My name, Yannick, is actually pronounced Yannick because my father's from Brittany, in the north of France. My mom is from Bordeaux.
Okay.
They actually both met in New York. And my mom was always involved in the world of hospitality, but more as a housekeeper.
Okay.
And then my dad always worked in restaurants, along with his 2 brothers. And then I had a cousin that was a chef also for his entire career. So I was surrounded by hospitality.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Absolutely. So actually, my dad got me my first job working in restaurants because, from a very young age, I always wanted to work in restaurants and hospitality. But of course, being the generation following my parents, of course, when you're the child of an immigrant, they want you to be in an air-conditioned office. They're thinking, okay,
doctor, lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. And so they're just like, no, you've got to do better than us. And I just like, school wasn't my thing. And I just loved hearing the stories on Sunday dinner with my uncles and my dad, and just seemed so fascinating. And it's just something that just kind of stuck with me, and that's what I want. But they were very supportive, no doubt about it. And then really it wasn't until I worked at a restaurant that no longer exists in New York City, but was very influential, Le Cirque, under Cyril Machoni. And they had this young sommelier, and this is back in the late 90s, and sort of sommeliers were sort of coming about, but still very rare, besides, the typical names that I would mention, the Kevin Zarellis and the Daniel Jonases. That was sort of it, right?
Sure. And
I saw this young sommelier, and I said, God, he's got a great job. And so I just kind of followed him around, even though I was a food runner, and I started tasting all these great wines, and he was saving them aside for me.
Really?
And that's how it kind of happened. And then by the age of 19, I had started taking wine classes at the International Wine Center. Probably I should not have been doing that because I was under 21.
But they let you anyway.
But they let me. Well, I don't think they.
They're like, if you want to pay for the class, we'll take your money.
But I don't think at that time they were actually like, who's under 21 taking wine classes? So, they weren't really asking for ID. I don't know how that all worked, but that was the class. Yeah. That was it. And, also I do remember going to France, and I had the real privilege of doing so. And my mom is right in the heart of the Médoc, And so I just remember going to these wine cellars. Back then, you could just knock on the chateau and you actually bought the wines, and you just remember that smell of this sort of, the smell of the white mushrooms and the dust and the mustiness of the cellar and the fermentation happening. That was just such a beautiful smell. And then really went full blast, after Le Cirque, and just hopped around a lot of different great restaurants. And now I'm a proud owner, a partner with a restaurant called Contento, which is wine focused. And then I have a wine store along with my wife, Heidi, called Beaupierre. And it's on 664 10th Avenue. And it's in the same building that I was born and raised in.
That blows my mind. Yeah. I remember you telling me that when we were in Verona. Yeah. And I was like, how more perfectly full circle could you come as a New Yorker and everything with that? It's a pretty great story.
Well, no, for sure. It's a real, I'm so grateful. Talk about being lucky and all that, especially in a city like New York where there's gentrification that's constantly and change. mean, just change, forget about that.
Yeah.
And, the name of the wine store is called Beaupierre because Beaupierre means beautiful rock, right? Because Pierre means rock. Well, my father's name is Pierre. So we named it after him. So it was really cool.
I love that.
And my mom was right above. My sister's a building over. So I see my nephew. So it's a real family affair. And of course, my wife, she's running the store. She's doing a great job.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
But let's pause right there because I want to know about, first of all, I mean, opening a restaurant in New York City. I mean, probably not an easy task. But tell me about Contento because that was the first thing you opened, right?
Right.
What's behind that? What's Contento about? And kind of as you built that plan to, tell me about the successes, challenges.
So just to give you some optics, right? I went on LinkedIn the other in my profile because I had to update it.
Yeah.
And it showed because I put the date of when I actually started the project of Contento.
Okay.
And that was in 2018.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So between finding the location, then going through the whole construction permits, you name it, and then COVID happening, the doors did not officially open until June 10th, 2021.
Oh my goodness.
So I just realized that, I think it was yesterday, the day before, but that talk about LinkedIn, I said, holy crap. So this has been going on for about 6.5 years of my life.
Yeah.
Which 4 of them now has been fully operational, open.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's really challenging. I mean, and we're a small restaurant. I mean, it's a 35-seat restaurant. Then we have 15 seats outside.
Okay.
It's not easy. It's really hard.
And what's I've never been, so I will come. But what's the concept? What can people expect when they go?
Yeah, when you come there, I mean, first off, I think we really want to try to keep it as intimate and sort of that one-on-one experience, right? Oftentimes you go to restaurants and you kind of don't have that anymore, right? Of course, the feeling of the restaurant is certainly based on these restaurants that I've been to, in particular in Europe, like places like you and I have been to in Verona, right?
Yeah.
Where it's very casual, but yet you just feel so good being there.
Yeah.
As far as the cuisine, we just brought on a new chef. She started about 6 months ago. Her name is Asia Shabazz. She's born and raised in East Harlem.
Okay.
She grew up 10 blocks away. So talk about real terroir. And she's completely inspired by, obviously local ingredients, but more so also her cultural heritage, which is West Indian, along with some Latin flavors. But it's really that West Indian, Caribbean kind of flavors that really come out, along with a hint of these kind of like West African flavors. She's incredibly talented. I mean, for me, she's just a pleasure to work with.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, as a restaurant owner, as a restaurant founder, right? This is your baby.
Yes.
Was it the food first or the wine first? Like, how did you? I mean, because you were a sommelier. So right. How did that? Which led the other, or both, or?
No, for sure. I mean, listen. I think ideally, I wanted to have the food kind of just be simple, but in the best possible way, for sure. So I didn't have like a cuisine in mind.
Okay.
But I wanted it to be wine friendly. So listen. For sure, the wine came first, no doubt about that, right? And I had a concept of how I wanted the wine list to be.
Okay.
And I really wanted the first page to be focused on this page called Wines of Social Impact, producers that are having some kind of social impact. And it could be, farming, but also from a social standpoint, or they could simply be someone that doesn't look like me, right? Like we know that 90% of winemakers are people that own wineries, they look like me, right? A white male, right? This is the reality of things, right? So really trying to, elevate these individuals that so deserve it, right?
Yeah.
And then right after that, the next page was focused on local wines, right? And one of the reasons why I wanted to focus on local wines, well, I'm really proud to be from the Northeast. I'm particularly proud to be from New York. And I think sometimes people kind of smirk when I talk about, there's some really good wines in New York. Or even in the Northeast, right? It's like, well, I mean, it's all a matter of like your perspective. But I think in the Northeast, we're making great wines.
Yeah.
There's a lot of diversity for sure. So I really wanted to put that. And where I had this revelation was during the pandemic where we could not travel. And I just thought, there's a big contradiction. I'm kind of gaslighting. What I mean by that is that I can tell you how far Givry-Chambertin is from Chambon-Musigny. I can tell you vineyards and all that. But yet I can't tell you anything about my own backyard. And yet I'm preaching about organic farming, biodynamics, carbon footprint.
Right.
But how can I not tell you about anything about my 100-mile radius?
Yeah.
So there's a problem there, isn't there?
Yeah.
So, took the advantage of going up to Vermont, seeing what they're doing out there, doing some great work out there,
Nice.
hybrids and all that.
Yeah.
And then in Virginia, beautiful wine country out there. So this was that sort of exploration that I wanted. And then, of course, the rest of the world and all that kind of stuff, and really kind of breaking it up that way.
Yeah. I love that you did that. Shameless plug for Texan that, we have Jesse Griffiths in Austin, who James Beard Award winner, but he opened Due and has, for most of his chef career, been a zealot for local seasonal. Like if onions aren't in season and they aren't within 25 miles, he's not buying them, you know, but he loves Italian wine. Sure. And that was his background. And he's like, I'm going to open this restaurant. Of course, I'm going to put Italian wine on it. And then he kind of had this like personal crisis moment where he's like, I can't be true to who I am and authentic if I'm actually not leading with Texas wine. Because FYI, we do have some, everybody, and some good. And
very
so, so he championed that. It's a exclusively 100% Texas wine list.
Oh, that's amazing.
I know, no competition for you, but I'm just saying, like, it's impressive because it does take, Pavle Milic in Arizona doing the same thing. I think it's a really fun stand because it gives people an opportunity to discover something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, tell me about, so you have Beaupierre.
Right.
And that is straight retail, right? That's not a wine bar. Okay.
That's how it works in New York State. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so you guys wanted to open that not only for the sentimental reason that you could actually do something in the place where you grew up, but also to give people in New York a what?
Well, listen, I think I have to be very honest with you. Working in restaurants is very exhausting. It's physically demanding, but most of all, it's mentally demanding. And my wife had always worked in restaurants. Then the pandemic happened. And at the time, before the pandemic happened, she had worked for a Wine Spectator. It had opened up this incredibly, massive like private club called the WS. And that was down. There's a big project happening on the west side called the Hudson Yards. And then the pandemic happened and WS shut down and she was, what do you want to call it, furloughed, whatever the case was. And I think, she had sort of that kind of, I wouldn't say midlife crisis, but sort of like, hey, do I really want to be like working the floor, and keep doing this and all that? It's tough, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, I was very fortunate that I had all these projects going. I was still working and things were going well for me as well as they could consider the moment that we were living at that time. And so I just said, gosh, I got to figure out something because, I want her to be happy. It's really important, right? And the wine store I had always thought of, it was always sort of in the back of my mind. And one day I went to go pick up my mom. I was waiting in front of the building that I grew up in. And all of a sudden I'm staring. I said, oh, wow, that old carpet store that became like a small little Pilates studio is now closed. So I said, Mom, what's happening with that place? She said, well, unfortunately, COVID, he hasn't been paying his bills. So he's out. He got evicted. Oh. And right away I said, I'm going to take it. I mean, really, I told her, she's like, are you going to really? I said, I want to take it. I said, talk to Donna, who's the president of the board. Donna's also, I grew up with her.
You're like, so, I'm a shoo-in.
And that was it. And then we start the whole process, going through the state, the SLA, the State Liquor Authority, which is a whole process, and doing the paperwork and going through community boards and all. It's not easy. It's a whole process,
Yeah.
It is. And that same day anyway, I told Heidi, I said, we're going to open up a wine store. She said, really? I don't know anything about retail. I said, we'll just learn. I said, it'll be ours. And it's a beautiful thing because, we don't have any outside investors. It is purely ours, so we don't have anyone to like ask permission for. Everything that we say or that we do belongs to us.
I love that. What a cool experience.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's it is, what a blessing. We're so lucky.
Yeah, to see both sides.
Yeah.
All right, one last project I want to ask you about, because this is actually, this is in full swing right now, but tell me about Wine on Wheels and what that's all about.
So Wine on Wheels was started officially in 2012.
Okay. For
some of the people who can't see me right now, I'm a full-time wheelchair user. I was in a car accident in 2003 that left me paralyzed from the waist down. So when I was in rehab and I was there for about, 4 months, let's say, right? I realized how lucky I was, even though I was going through this really difficult situation.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate that I had family every day. I had family and friends come visit me every single day.
Yeah.
And I noticed other people that were on the same floor with me that were, that also had suffered this injury, whatever kind of way, whether it was an act of violence or a sporting accident or a car accident. They had no one going to visit them.
Yeah.
I was very lucky that the individual that was in my room with me, Alex Alagudin, still is my dear friend, my best friend. He also had the same situation as me, just tons of people, tons of support, right?
Yeah.
And so obviously after we both left, then you have to face the real world, and that's a whole nother thing. But after a few months, maybe a year, things kind of settling down, I knew that I wanted to do something. And selfishly, I wanted to do something because I couldn't find anything out there as far as work.
Yes, of course.
All of a sudden, I all my life, I worked
the floor.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And all of a sudden now I'm like, shit, sorry. Like, what am I going to do? Like, this is really challenging. Right.
Yeah.
And, I was at that time, you could still fax, I'm faxing resumes, I'm emailing resumes, I'm calling around. And, I think what it really came down to is that one, you're in New York City, restaurants are really tiny. There's steps, there's stairs, old buildings, you name it. And then also, like, there wasn't really a template. Like, no one had ever seen someone work the restaurant floor on a wheelchair, right? So and I get that, right? You kind of like just want to know how this kind of actually, how does this work, right? But I knew that, like, God, like, if I don't figure out something, if I don't create something, if I don't create an identity for myself, I'm not going to be relevant anymore, right?
Yeah.
And like reputation, relevancy is everything in any industry, bottom line.
Yeah.
So Alex, who was also starting to do sort of like, his own kind of work, mentorship, we had started coming together. I said, listen, I still am connected to the world of wine. I know some importers, I know some distributors and all that, and they possibly might want to donate if we decide to do something. And all that money that we raise, we can do some outings, take out newly injured patients to movies, do some fun activities. And that's how it really kind of started, right?
Yeah.
So in one hand, this nonprofit was to provide a resource for other individuals. But at the same time, if anyone benefited from the most was me, because it gave me a purpose.
Yeah.
And so I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah.
And that's really the story of Wine on Wheels.
So what happens every year? Is there an annual fundraiser?
That's
so
correct.
You're in the community, you're doing things, but then there's also.
Yeah, for sure. So on Sunday, September 8th, we're doing our big annual Wine on Wheels grand tasting, which will be at City Winery. And we have about 40 different restaurants. And how this works is I have a great team. I have Abe Zarate, who's this incredible sommelier. He's also the wine director at Contento at the restaurant. He's involved with a bunch of things, doing tremendous work, along with his sister, Sophia Zarate, she's amazing as well. And then I have Ariane Ramirez, who's been with me for a decade almost. And she's unbelievable. She's also a paraplegic, right? So we have this really incredible network of, this team. So we've reached out to these sommeliers or wine directors, beverage directors, and we're like, would you like to participate? Of course, they always say yes. People are just, people in hospitality are just naturally giving, right? That's who they are. Yeah. And they choose the wines. And we tell them, you choose the wines that best reflect who you are, what the represent stands for. And that's it. Those are the ones you should pour. So we have like this mixed bag. You have some restaurants that are pouring very classic wines, very natty wines, whatever it is, thematically. And it's really cool. And then you have this mosaic of different people at this grand tasting. And I have people tell me all the time, like, I've never been to a wine tasting where it's like everyone's from different backgrounds.
Yes.
Because you're tasting with people that look like me. Then you've got, Black, brown, Asian. But then you also have people with disabilities that are there having a good time.
Yes.
Which you rarely see at a grand tasting.
That's exactly right.
So it's in that sense, it's just a fun event. And
and there's something about having a place to be seen, and accepted for that. And I think that's really beautiful. I wonder if we could transition based on that. One of the things that when we spend some time together in Verona, I found fascinating is kind of like your diligence with your own personal wellness, whether that's, I won't give everyone your personal life, but like getting up early to exercise, always staying really, really strict not strict in a negative way, but in a way to keep your head in the right place. And one of the things you'll be speaking on a panel about, or that you're speaking on a panel about at TexSom, is about wellness in the wine industry. And I wonder if you could kind of talk about that. I mean, you're a resilient person. obviously a strong personality which existed before your accident, but you've used it for good over the years. What are kind of your thoughts? What did this panel kind of reveal?
Well, for sure, I think, I'm so happy to see that we're talking more and more about wellness, right?
Yeah.
In this industry. But I do think that we're still lagging. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done. I mean, there's no doubt that I thought, because of the pandemic, that you were going to completely deconstruct the hospitality industry.
It's going to fall apart.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, things have stayed the same.
Yeah.
Things have not changed.
Yeah.
People are still working a lot, and people are still without healthcare.
Yes.
And this is a big, big problem.
And in the United States.
In the United States.
Let's be clear.
In the United States,
where we struggle with that.
Well, and you might have seen a couple of U.S. Olympic athletes.
Yes.
When they were in Paris, they were on social media going like, I'm getting free healthcare.
Yeah.
This is incredible. I think in order to be able to keep the best and the most talented people in our industry, we're going to have to figure out a better safety net.
Yeah.
And we still don't have that. I can't tell you, I'm 46 years old. I'm born in 1978. And there are a lot of people that I remember growing up, like coming through the ranks of the sommelier industry, hospitality industry, where a lot of them have pivoted to completely different industries.
Right.
Or they've taken what you would call, and I hate to say this, and this is not meant to be insulting, but a safe job.
Right.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
Where it has, guaranteed benefits and all of that stuff because,
And so I think that's the real big step to really, finding that wellness for individuals that are part of this hospitality industry.
Yeah.
Because eventually, and I think it is already happening, the system is broken.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. And I don't want to sound negative. I think this is all trying to be constructive. Mm-hmm. And there's no doubt in my mind that there's a way to figure this out.
Yeah.
I mean, the solutions are there.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like, are we willing to do so? And I think that the way we figure this out is that we have to fully understand who everybody is. And what I mean by that is that we have to like get McDonald's, Applebee's, get the most natty wine bar on the corner of Bedford to Austin or whatever, to all come into the same umbrella and go like, hey, we can all help each other.
Yes.
There's something to be said about that.
Yeah.
So the cool kid, natty wine bar in Brooklyn, not be so judgmental of the Applebee's people, and like, how do we benefit each other?
Yeah.
And I think that's really one step in the right direction. And we have to like create almost this kind of alliance.
Yes.
I don't want to say the word union because that's like, I don't know.
But even like, I mean, I'm not going to get in the insurance world. It boggles my mind. And I apologize for everyone who doesn't have to worry about this that's listening. But it is a struggle. And if you're in service, that is in the service industry, it would make sense that there would be some sort of umbrella plan or something like that they could benefit from. Yeah.
I mean, imagine you having to wake up every morning, right? Knowing that you're going to step into a place where there's steps, the floor is wet, it's slippery because drinks have dropped, there's knives, there's fire, there's oil, whatever, you name it.
Yeah.
And you're not covered.
Yeah.
It's pretty scary,
it's
right?
It's scary, yeah.
And you also know that there's a high turnover rate.
Mm-hmm.
We also know that restaurants sometimes just decide to shut down. When we talk about it's a miracle if a restaurant stays open after a year.
Yeah.
Those are anxieties that an employee or a person who works in the industry has naturally.
Yeah.
How do we get rid of that?
Right.
And that's like, we have to build a better community and a better alliance from New York to California to Seattle to Austin to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's an interesting point. It seems like something that's hard to tackle, but I also feel like, talk to me about the other people on the panel, because it's like you guys all like kind of are this brain power where it's like, okay, there are some really good ideas here.
For sure. I mean, everyone that's on that panel, I think the one thing that they all have in common is that they're very disciplined with taking care of their mental health, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because again, going back, we are constantly on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not unusual, right, to see someone that's in comedy or in the world of the arts where they're on all the time, right?
Yeah.
And then they're relieving themselves by drinking or doing drugs, right?
Yeah.
They just need that escape, right?
Escape.
And I think that myself, I've not to, sound righteous. I've never done drugs, you know what I mean? And thank God. I mean, but I know that my escape is to find that moment of stillness, right?
Yeah.
Because to me, that moment of stillness is my own personal kingdom of God.
Yeah.
And that place will never abandon you.
Yeah. I love that.
And I just need that. And I think those individuals that are on the panel that are unbelievable, they're spectacular and very special. They may not say those same exact words, but I believe that they would agree with that.
Kind of honed in on that.
Yeah. And I think we need that stillness. We need that silence. And that's at least one way to guard yourself from the constant chaos that if you work in a restaurant that you're surrounded by.
Yeah. The noise.
And
not just the noise, but so let's segue that into the other panel you were on, which is about the state of the industry. So we've talked about healthcare and wellness in a way.
Yes.
What is the state of the industry beyond that? What are some of the key challenges or successes that you're seeing right now in 2024?
Listen, I know that the number one topic that everybody's talking about, and I think even when I went to Verona, and I did not stay for Vin Italy, but I stayed for opera because I love that part
that
of it.
event.
So great.
Yeah.
But I'm in New York City, and we have an embarrassment of riches, right?
Right.
And really, it's a special place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what I would say to all of that is that I think people are in panic mode about people drinking less, or alcohol sales are down and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, of course, it's something that we should really be aware of. I would say the good news is that people are going to continue to drink. It just doesn't disappear overnight, for sure. You know what I mean? I think that's a good thing that people are drinking in moderation, for sure.
Ties into wellness.
Ties into wellness. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I got off that plane, got to the hotel, and they gave me a beer. It was so good. Yeah. It was very this is exactly what I was looking for. No, but of course, for sure. People are, I think, in general, are drinking better, but they're drinking less.
Yeah.
I would say that we probably have an excess of too much wine out there. Maybe I might get myself into trouble for saying that, but there is quite a bit of it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, there's 8 billion people. I don't know how many people are actually of age to drink. But then you've also got to include people that are actually quite religious who do not drink, right? There's a good part of the world that does not. I was in Qatar. You're not going to find that.
Not going to happen. Yeah.
So those are just things to be aware of. Am I freaking out? Not exactly. Am I optimistic? I always try to be optimistic, for sure. As long as we're doing the hard work, I think that we have to continue to cultivate and not forget about the next generation, make them feel included, but not just but all populations.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the key to our success.
Yeah.
If not, if we continue to just kind of keep it to one particular population, then it's going to be a failure, for sure. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. And I feel like in the US in particular, and maybe like other places like the UK, it's like there is a challenge in that if there's not a culture of wine in the way that there are in a lot of some of the European countries where it's like you grew up with it on the table because your grandfather made it, that kind of thing. You walk into a retail environment and it is the entire world of wine in front of your face. And if you don't know wine and you're intimidated by wine, you may not invest in a $40 bottle. You may stick with a $20 bottle of gin that you can mix with something else. You know what I mean? Yeah. So as a journalist, I'm always like, how do we communicate, to people that there's a culture behind wine that involves history, heritage, so many other things, farming, all of that. And it comes through people like you. This is where the hospitality part ties in, whether it's a restaurant or a retail shop like Beaupierre, to be able to have someone communicate to people.
Everything evolves, right?
Yeah.
And certainly we didn't grow up with a wine culture, but wine always was around. And unfortunately, I think Prohibition definitely put a pause on that. But, keep in mind, wine culture did not exist in France, known as, Gaul, right? It was there.
When it was Gaul,
that was brought by the Romans. And the Romans probably also got it from, maybe the Phoenicians, right?
Yes.
And then you've also got wine that was started 6,500 years ago in the Caucasus Mountains, probably the oldest wine. So
in that sense, it's relative. We forget our history.
We forget our history. But I do think, I'd like to think in general, we have a pretty good wine culture here in America.
Yeah.
Could it get better? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just think that we have to focus on all the things that we actually are doing well and just build on that and not just go too much on panic mode, right? I mean, I feel like, especially now with politics right now, everyone's on panic mode, and I get that.
Yeah.
And whatever side whether it's left or right, it doesn't, the people on the right, they're freaking out because, and then the same thing with the left. But at the end of the day, it'll be fine.
Yeah. It's a pendulum.
It's 100% it is. And listen, I fully support people that want to do sober October, that want to do dry January. And honestly, I think it's a good, I mean, I know that when I take a little break from drinking for a couple of days, when I take that sip of wine, my palate's recalibrated again.
Yes.
Right? It feels good. It tastes better.
Right.
So I think everything in temperance, and why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Yannick, I'm so glad you joined us today and got to share a little bit of your background, a little bit about kind of what's going on in the industry. I always come away learning something from you. So I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Hope to see you in Verona again.
I hope so too. Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
All right. Ciao.
Listen to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Himalaya FM, and more. Don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. Until next time, cin cin.